Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody. I hope everybody is happy and well. My name is Neil Hoyt, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend, longtime buddy, my brother, Derek Marshall. What's going on, brother?
I am here. Well, good night, everybody. Well, everybody all settled in and ready to go.
Yeah. First, just want I can do this every time I do it. Y'all were listening for the last 50 minutes. You were listening to G Syndicate. That's Derek's a cappella group. It is a great a cappella group. It is the best a cappella group in my estimation, the Caribbean. I don't even know if they could hold a candle to you, but some of your music was just playing there in the background, Derek. For anybody that wants to, you know, find you on any of the social media or anything like that, or want to pay attention to any of your upcoming shows or any, well, upcoming shows, yeah, just hit up the people and let them know what's going on.
Yeah, everything you can look for us on the social media platforms at G Syndicate 6. That's on G Syndicate 6 on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and even gsyndicate6.com. So you can check us out for everything there. To tell you last week, we got a new release coming in a matter of about 2 weeks. So you can listen out for that as well. Hopefully we can move to the point, Neil, where we actually have, we'll be able to feature some other local artists at the top of the show as well. Hopefully we can move to that point at some juncture down the road. But for now, yeah, listening to G Syndicate, man. G Syndicate is great.
As I was telling you, man, I love that song Beyond is amazing. Like,
thank you, man.
Easily one of the best R&B songs coming out of Barbados. Like, amazing.
Thank you, man. Written by Hal Linton, another Barbadian. Goes by the name Bobby Saint these days. But Hal Linton, people remember him from songs like Cardiac Arrest back in the day that everybody thought was a foreign artist, but actually he's from right here in Barbados. So yeah, Hal Linton, he wrote that song and we put out one spin on it. And oddly enough, interestingly enough, we've never actually performed that song live. Never had the opportunity to. Hopefully, within the next couple of weeks, months, we get the opportunity to actually do it. But for now, everything on lockdown, so you gotta enjoy listening to it online.
Yeah. All right. So that's number one. Number two, I can always do a wellness check. How you doing, man? How was the weekend? I know we were locked down for 48 hours. I was rough with the giddy. How was it for you?
Well, for me, it was a much different from before. I still go outside and get in my exercise and stuff like that. I like being home. I like things like watching movies, and I've actually passed over the weekend to catch up on some Psych. I've never watched Psych before, but I love whodunit kind of movies and stuff like that. And Psych has some comedy mixed in with it as well. So even though I'm about 10 years late to the actual show, I am managing to try to catch up now. So doing a lot of binge watching over the weekend. So yeah, that was my thing. Still trying to keep active and everything. So I was able to do a little bit of at-home recording as well. Nice. For some projects I want to get into. So that was a really interesting experience for me. First time ever trying that. So yeah, I got through the weekend. The weekend kind of breezed by for me. What about you, man?
Well, I ain't gonna lie. The weekend was kind of emotional for me, man. I find that there's just a lot going on. Like, COVID and the four walls of your mind ain't no joke. Luckily, I had my son with me. We had a bunch of fun. We had a boys' weekend, so we had a great time. But yeah, man. So we are here, Derek, and
we're here. I was even asked to dress up for the occasion. So.
Oh yeah. The swag.
You button down. I had a little scarf and things like that.
Yeah. So we have some people watching. Jackie Walters, good night. Mark Seeley, good night. As a fellow G Syndicate member, yes. Man. Jackie Barnan, they're the best. Mark is telling you guys, telling the chat, gsyndicate6.com. Jannard Brewster is here. The Lord man, Mario Loki is here. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Let me get right into it. Yeah. So no, Derek. No, we had a very interesting what, 48 hours?
Yeah, it just say
Yeah,
48 hours.
yeah. So this all started with you posing a questionable Facebook account, right?
Mhm.
And first, I want you to ask that question. We're going to talk about the responses to that question, just kind of touch on it a bit, and then we can go from there. So let's talk about this topic, and you all see the title, relationship requirements. But you could touch a bit about, you could talk about what your status that you put up, what it was.
All right. Now, in fairness to those who are watching and will not have seen the question posted or whatever, I am going to give the background, the preamble first, so that you can kind of understand why the conversation started to go the way they did. And the question was asked because in an earlier question a couple of weeks ago, I had asked what were the qualities people looked for in a partner. And
Right.
more than one lady said that a job was a requirement. So, on the back of that, and then because of my research and stuff like that, because yeah, I actually do a little bit of research, before you actually just turn up a couple of thoughts and dribble on social media.
uh,
Because of my research, I came across this question. I thought it'd be a pertinent question to put to the forum. I thought it'd be a question that would kind of get the discussion started. I, I kind of expected some pushback, but I really got a lot of insight. So let me just share the question. The question went, if your partner's financial security and stability is part of your criteria for qualification for a relationship, should your sexual history and body count be part of their criteria for the same relationship? No. I guess because I had prefaced everything by saying that the in an earlier question, people said a job. Lady said a job was a requirement. People then took it up and they ran with it, and everybody started from the point of view of, but if a woman wants a man for his money, then really and truly, a man should be expecting something in return from a physical standpoint. Um,
right.
I don't think many people give much consideration to the fact that it could go the other way and that a man could actually want a woman for her money. Um, and a woman then would have to be concerned with the man's body count. But
Mhm.
it launched off into a whole discussion. It got really, really intense in some spots.
Yeah.
And it opened up the discussion a little bit, but it also kind of, we got into a little bit of trolling and stuff like that too, which is not what we're intending to do.
Yeah.
This space that we are trying to create here, Neil, I don't think either of us approach it from the standpoint of looking to bash anybody or demean anybody. We're not looking to shame, insult, guilt trip anybody. We don't even need to be right. It's not about that. It's about generating the discussion so that men and women kind of get a greater understanding of where the other person is coming from. Because even though we relate to and we talk every day,
Yep.
I don't think we fully understand and grasp what it is somebody else from the opposite sex is actually looking for. So I interact with men every day. I mean, an all male group. I've been in a lot of all male groups down through the years from as early as primary school. And I know men talk. I played a lot of sports, played cricket, and I played basketball, played football. I know men talk. And I know a lot of men too feel as if their only place to talk, or at least to be heard rather, and understood, is within the confines of a locker room and a locker room setting. Because
Right.
I've sung with groups, and while that may not be a locker room per se, it is still very much a locker room atmosphere. If
Still
we're
camaraderie.
performing,
Still come.
yeah, it's still the camaraderie and stuff like that that you will find within a locker room setting. It's just that instead of sports is music. right? So men talk and relate within those spaces. They share with each other, they advise each other, and they do it in those forums because a lot of times they feel as if it's a waste of time talking outside of those forums, especially now in 2020, 2021, where we got buzzwords like patriarchy, misogyny, um, and now we're into cancel culture, and you really may have to kind of tiptoe around what they say in a public space. So I think we both had the idea to kind of create this space where we can share as men, discuss as men, relate to men, and also for women who want to have that discussion, who want to have that dialogue, that exchange. Shoot, the forum is open for you too. And you can come, you can share your views, we can listen to you. But within this controlled forum, I think it's a bit easier if we all approach it with a open mindset for everybody to kind of take something from this particular forum, as opposed to, because I watched the conversation yesterday, and I think I remarked to you, I thought it was very interesting how men's wants and what they were trying to bring over were pretty much dismissed a lot of times. And a lot of times, if they weren't even just dismissed, a lot of times they were actually insulted. They said that it's shallow is one word I heard. It's all shallow, chauvinistic,
Word.
superficial is another word that came over. So I was kind of looking forward to this discussion tonight because I felt, I was hoping that we'd have more females. I can't see the count, so you'd have to tell me. Hoping we have more
Yeah, we
females
got
come
20.
to the chat.
We just over 20 views, so 20
Okay,
viewers.
cool.
So
So I'm hoping that we have more people who will come in and contribute to the conversation, especially females, so that we can have a bit more discussion and they can see where we're coming from, because men don't talk. People say that for years, men don't talk. And there's a reason men don't talk, because they feel like when they start to talk, we get into shaming, we get into insults, um, and there seems to be
guilt.
a reluctance, a lot of guilt. They need to be right. We call that the sign language. Um, so they feel like, you know what, I can't be bothered to try to push my point any further, to try to get off my point, because I'm not being heard. So I was just, to keep the peace,
Just hush
let me
my
just
mouth.
hush. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, you know, that's why I'm happy that we have a situation like this where we're able to discuss and we can still field questions from those who are watching online and stuff like that.
Right. So from my point of view, the so there's a difference between you and I, right? We are very like-minded. We've always had a very similar mindset, but our differences come where you are ready to, as they would say, push a button. You know what I mean? Like you have no problem in phrasing something to elicit
Respect.
discussion, and you almost force the conversation. It is funny because some of those responses we saw yesterday was a bit of, it was a poorly worded question, it was a poorly worded post, and that sort of thing. And I'm not gonna lie, it was a bit, put the back foot. But the truth is, the funny thing is, and you touched on it a bit earlier, we don't um, we don't we don't just do things, we don't just say things. We don't like you. Okay, let me just first explain how our dynamic works for this podcast, right? Really and truly, we don't have anything scripted. We don't. The most we do is we say, all right, well, I messaged you on Sunday. What are we talking about on Tuesday? And to be honest, we had this and another topic, but imagine the other topic was men's health, mental health, and that was preempted
By
for
this.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, by this. So yeah, it's just interesting because again, we don't just do things, we don't just say things. Everything is for a purpose. Granted, I did not talk to you in your post. That is your personal Facebook page, and you are drumming up conversation as you see fit. That was in place before this show, and hopefully it would remain in place regardless. But the truth is that people don't seem to understand that as much as that question seems very inflammatory, we would have done our research. Yeah. I talked to women that were married. I talked to women that were older. I talked to women that were younger. I talked to women that are single. I talked to women that were married. Talked to men, of course. And yes, it was a mixed bag, but generally what the consensus was there's they understood the question. Matter of fact, one of my female friends had no problem with how the question was worded. And she pretty much agreed with the fact that it is about the security and the stability you need to feel comfortable in a healthy and committed relationship. So essentially, yes, people look at finances versus body count, sexual partners, and sexual history. People look at that. Some people even took that to directly mean that it's a sexual transaction. Like man want money, women want money, man want sex, right? And some women were offended because it was implying, well, it was twofold. It was implying that women are essentially gold diggers, and men see women as sexual objects, right? That's a very general statement, and what we try to do is not go by general statements. I would say some men do those things, some women do those things, but generally this is not what that space is for. This space is for the discerning individual, the discerning adult that knows the importance of stability and security in a relationship. So I think we should deep dive into this. I see a comment here from Carrie Ann. So glad that so glad there is this level set. Society demands so much of men, especially black men, and make it even more difficult when they need safe spaces to be authentic. Double-edged sword, this life. Yeah. And Jannard obviously commenting like, yes, they was hot. Yeah. But my mom Ramel saying swag, swag. Yeah, the men are clean. Renee is rolling her eyes with the scarf. Good
Scarf,
night,
yeah, yeah.
Talia. Anyhow, good night, Nikita. How you doing? Thanks for joining. Right. So basically, this is a question of what an individual needs to feel safe and secure with
Yeah.
their potential partner. Yeah. Um, that can look like many different things, but a person will need something to feel comfortable and secure in a relationship. Yeah.
Yeah.
The obvious is financial security. Everybody needs money, financial security. And it's funny for me how I saw people are saying that money is a need, a necessity, but sex is not a necessity. Some people even were saying, if you can take your vagina to the bank to get a mortgage, right? And it's
Yeah, I
it is
saw that
it is
one.
and that is comical to me because at the end of the day, yes, you can't eat, you can't drink, you can't live without money. However, our basic primal instinct is that of of physical nature, whether you're a man or a woman.
Yeah, we had
You
a
know,
discussion yesterday. I remember, if you remember, I sent you the picture of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And when
yes,
you look, you realize that sex and protection, shelter, all those things are actually on the same level. Is when you start to evolve um, and self-actualize as a human being, you realize now that you start to move up and you require different things. Um,
give them that scale
Personally,
again. Not to
yeah.
cross you, but give them that scale again because I don't want us to say things and people don't think that I want people to go and research. Say that scale again.
Yeah, when we talking Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and the basic needs, your physiological needs: air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, reproduction. And the only way we as humans reproduce, well, the easiest way we reproduce is through sex, right? So they're all there at the bottom, on the bottom level of the hierarchy of needs. They're all there together. So air and water right up there with sex.
Yeah.
Um, to kind of get into it, Neil, I think we need to understand depending on how you look at it, hypergamy is not a bad thing, right? Hypergamy that is, and this hypergamy kind of deals with females in particular. They will always gravitate towards the best possible partner. That's a given, right? When I was younger and a little less informed, I would say this kind of waiting for the upgrade. You got old computer, you upgrade it, get signed up. You know what I mean? But as you grow and you develop and you kind of recognize where you are in life, it's like, so what? So your partner is supposed to want the best of you. So you as a man, I preach this now for this is the third podcast we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
For this 3 weeks running. So you should always be trying to be the best version of you. You know what I mean? So even though we on lockdown or whatever, and you might not be able to go to work, but shoot, you could take up a skill, you know, learn something new. You got the university, YouTube, learn to play an instrument, you know, take up gardening, get your exercise on, take up boxing, learn some karate or something, you know. Learn a language, you know, take up a language again through the university and YouTube or something like that. Those are things you can do to kind of build yourself out to be the best person you can be. Don't be upset with a woman for trying to get the best partner she can when you aren't doing anything at all to improve your lot in life. You know what I mean? So when you look at it from that perspective, hypergamy, yeah, it's not such a bad thing because it encourages men to be the best versions of themselves. So I think we should kind of look at it from that.
I completely agree. At the end of the day, still, and I would even touch on that is what we do as a species, both men and women. As a matter of fact, that is what most species do, right? They pretty much look for the best possible mate. We could get into the pheromones, we could get into body language and everything like that as it pertains to
body language.
People have the language, right? It's a joke. Anyhow, but yeah, in terms of we do things subtly and not so subtle and instinctively to draw in our potential partners, men and women.
No, not across Neil, but
go ahead.
Can I go on the flip side of that now?
Mm-hmm.
By the same, women want the best possible man they can get. By the same token, men want the best possible they can get. Here is where the divide comes. Men want one set of things, women want another set of things. Women want stability, resources, right? If a man can bring those things to the table, fantastic, that's great. Here's the rub. A man who has money, resources, financial security and stuff like that does not need a woman who has those things. So he's not necessarily going to look for a woman with those things. He wants a woman who, when he puts her on his arm and he walks out, heads will turn. People can say, yo! Because the guys in the chat right now, the viewers, the male viewers can attest to this. When you walk out with a chick that you know she bad, and the man saying, yo, you just feel smart. You be like, yeah, that's the man. I got it today. Right? That's a fact. So now please don't misunderstand me. We ain't talking about the scrubs in the road, right? We're talking about the man that got resources, the man that has money, that man that is
self-sufficient, ambitious. Yeah.
Correct. We're talking about that man that is able to provide for a family, etc. Right? That man, your degree may or may not matter to him. You know what I mean? So we understand, ladies, that yeah, you've been told all your life, go get it for your own, for yourself, because men in the use, right? We've heard it. We've all heard it. Men in the use. Yeah. But there's a different kind of guy, generally an older guy who's a little bit more settled and got some things. He is built up. His money is built up, his resources. He's at that place now where, all right, it's family time or whatever. That guy,
Mm-hmm.
you got to come to the table with a different set of stuff for that guy. That guy wants you to be ladylike. That guy wants you to be smoking physically. So you got to get it right. That's what that guy wants, and that's just the reality of it. Ladies, you want what you want. Men want what they want. Now, don't get me wrong. There may be outliers, exceptions to the rules, but generally, when a fella has brought himself to a particular point, you want the baddest chick you can get, and that's just a reality. So you will find a man with money. I've heard this all my life. You will lose money chasing women, but you will never lose women chasing money.
Oh, say
And
that
then
again, Derek. No,
you
say that
will
again. Say
you will
say that again.
always lose money chasing women, but you will never lose women chasing money. And
And I
you
get an
know,
amen.
you're gonna tell people put the amen in chat or a couple ones
Amen
or
in chat.
something.
If y'all really pick that and understand that.
Um, and I really don't. I nobody is saying or faulting women for wanting the best possible man they can get, even if they have their own. We get it, ladies. We get it that you're strong, independent, and all that. We get it. We get it that you got your own. We understand it. We get it. We appreciate it. But
Man, put the
every
ones in
woman,
chat. Sorry. I love these people here. I love y'all. I
yeah,
love y'all. Real,
love
real.
the man. We get it. We get it that you got your own. We get it. But you can't say on the one hand that you need a man with a job and then say that the job doesn't matter or whatever. You know, if it is, because we know, we get what it is. We know that you need a certain level of stability, a certain level of security. We understand that. We get it. And there's a lot of the reasons a lot of men hustle, do stuff that are a little illegal for the side or whatever. Because guess what? If them fellas was doing illegal things and the girls wasn't checking, then that would I ain't gonna find something else to do.
Facts. Facts.
No?
Um, yeah, go ahead. Well, let me just jump in
Yeah,
here.
man.
First, again, let me just read some comments here. For Janardis, thank you for the nugget regarding the scale. Um, and then he's agreeing not only want in terms, I guess, in terms of what women want and everything that everybody's saying. Amen. Kevin Sealy couldn't say since when you listen to Tupac. Carrie Renee, good night. Ones in the chat, Ramel getting crazy. Mama Steve saying bars, but I want to talk about something because I thought about it, right? And after seeing some of the comments yesterday, especially from women who thought it was very misogynistic, a man wanting to know about a lady's good night to my man Shamal boy. Shamal, we had discussions like this all in the gym. But yeah. In terms of talking about the misogyny of a man talking about sexual history for a woman, right? Some women went as far as to say, you know what, that ain't got nothing to do with you because unless we're talking about STDs, that ain't got nothing to do with you, right?
Right.
But I thought about it and I really, really gave it a thought. And I came to the conclusion that the reason why, because don't get me wrong, I have asked that question before. I'm not proud of it. I've asked that question actually up to very recently, right? And I asked the question, and the person responded with a little hesitation. And I questioned myself as to why I was asking this question. And I was actually ashamed of myself because it's a very lowbrow question. It is a question that is actually a simplified version of what you're looking for. There are several things a man is looking for from his woman. So for me, I asked that question before, not to know that if you were, as you say, known to the streets, or if you know, you whatever. To me, I asked that question because I want to know clearly you're with me or you're interested in being with me, meaning that you've had, especially if you're over the age of 25, right? All of us have had many relationships. All of us have had many sexual relationships. Not all of them have been romantic. Some of them have been casual. We're adults, but let's
Yeah.
be honest. The majority of those would have been a romantic relationship, even if they started off as casual. So then both myself and my partner, potential partner, we are coming as two people that have failed a lot in relationships, in love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for me, I asked that question as a simplified way to find out basically why have what issues do you have, what responsibilities you played in the demises of your relationships. If you understand what I'm saying, because
Okay.
let's be honest, right? Women, you date some women would have had, let's say, 20 partners, right? 20 sexual partners. Out of that, let's say out of that, maybe half or less were in
Actual
romantic
relationships.
relationships. Actually, relationships, right? I would say 5 to 10. Now, why are you single? Yeah. And I have no, and first, let me say, I have no problem in anyone asking me that question. Why I'm single, how many people I've slept with. I have no qualms, issues, or anything answering that question because I understand now why that question is important. Or rather, I understand the mentality behind that question. You want to know why your partner, potential partner, has had so many failed relationships. Now, I was explaining it to somebody last night that there's only so much blame you could put on multiple failed relationships. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Common
I will tell
denominator.
you, I will tell you, me personally, I am responsible. Every relationship for me that has failed, I am partly responsible. Sometimes I am, it varies, but I am partly responsible. Yeah. Um, in terms of not understanding what they really required in the relationship or not understand or ego, miscommunication. There's so many things that went into my failures in relationships. So therefore, I want to know why your relationships have failed. Are you an insecure person? Are you a person that don't communicate well? Are you a person that is unfaithful? Are you a person that runs at the first sight of a challenge or an argument? You understand these? And you were talking about it earlier, right? Women want a certain level of security and stability in finances. Men don't necessarily need that, especially a man that is self sufficient financially. What a man needs is stability and security emotionally. Let me say that again. Men want stability and security emotionally.
I
We
think
do
you
not,
gotta clarify that.
right? We don't, men are not, we are not quick to be emotional. We are not quick to be vulnerable. We are not quick to, the world already given us a bunch of foolishness. We usually internalize or we usually find it hard to express. Yeah. And to that end, we strive for a balance. It is all about balance. We want stability, security in someone we're dealing with. For example, if you have a partner, everything else is going good, but she nags. Well, you ain't carry out these garbage yet. You man ain't trying to, he got to go to work, come home. You got to go to work, come home. Your energy is at 10. My man coming home, literally having been at 10 all day. My man want to be at a 4. My man want to be at a 3. Drink beer, watch some games, spend some time with his woman. Yeah, but she on full tilt. Yeah, no, the man ain't want none of that action. And as much as I am saying men and I'm saying women and I'm putting it in a context because I'm speaking from a perspective of a man, no one wants that. Everybody wants a stable and secure environment emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, all the leads, as you would say.
All the leads.
Therefore, therefore, a man is asking you in that question basically several different questions under that. Are you sexually? What's your sexual prowess like? Are you are you someone that likes having a huge sexual energy, right? There are so many things with I don't know if everybody's still seeing us. I'm seeing something about waiting for live stream. I hope the stream is still going. You all can let me know if you all still hearing me or not. Okay, we're reconnected again. But yeah, the man wants to know several different things. Your sexual prowess, your sexual history. Are you a woman known to the streets? Are you a woman that shuts down or runs at the first sign of trouble? Are you a woman that is willing to stick it out? You know what I mean? Are you a thing? And I realized that that question is not a good question because, as you like to say, we like sexy questions. We like sexy talk. Nobody, no woman I know. Well, don't let me say that. Let's say I am now meeting someone. We know trying to gel and mesh. Nobody want to hear me come and ask. So, what kind of traumas you trying to heal from? Or,
Yeah,
obviously, you would have had many different relationships, especially in Barbados. Everybody know everybody business, right? It ain't hard
yeah.
to access.
That is
So it's
not a
like,
dated
yeah,
question.
you were married. You, Derek, were married. I meet a woman, and it's like, yeah, you were married before. What happened there in that marriage? You've been in several different relationships before. Why are you now single? What has happened
Yeah,
in those relationships? Yeah, nobody wants to. That question to me is more confrontational than how many people you slept with. If somebody asked me, yo, yeah, I know you had X body, and I know you had Y body, and I know you got this. For example, I have a son. Yeah, I didn't manifest him through thin air. He came from somewhere. So
yeah,
people will say, what happened there? What's going on there? Yeah. I may not want to answer that. I may want to answer real good with how many people I had sex with and when's the last time I had sex. I would be more willing to answer that
yep.
than speak
Digging
about
up your own business.
digging up like the skeletons. Like, okay, yes, it was my fault, but I don't communicate well. That I do not communicate well. That is a flaw I have as a man, as a
Hmm.
person. I do not express myself well within the context of feelings, emotions, etc. Yeah, and I'm working on that. I'm aware of it, and I'm working on it. Therefore, why are you single? How many relationships have you had? How many of them were love? Why are you single? It's only so much a man could do. A man could cheat on you, a man could beat you, a man could horn you, a man could do all these things. Communicate, you know, give you good sex, you could do all these things. But what was your responsibility in the demise of your relationship? Because no relationship, well, let me say no. Very few relationships end and it is not your fault. And they talking about the extremes like abuse, lack of ambition, going back on your the, like you kind of because at first you're gonna have these conversations. Yeah, babe, I'm ambitious. I started my own business. Retete, 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 retete. But I see the business plan. It's 2 years. Yeah, it's 3 years. You ain't registering a business. I ain't seeing a movement. Yeah. So what is the reason you are both single? So,
Yeah,
that's my standpoint. Let me read some comments because people here
yeah.
chat getting so hard though. Um, let
Back
me
it up, back
go.
it up.
Yeah, let me back it up, back it up. Right. So, seriously, lack of understanding. This is from Kevin Seeley. Seriously, lack of understanding and middle ground that's ignored. Some females want to be wine and dine. Some want the real you. Skip the pretense. Natalia, why do some men and women decide not to be upfront in the first place when cards are on the table from the beginning? How can there be any misunderstanding? It may be a person is upfront, nobody is lost. Yeah, I'm silly again. Funny enough, it's not how they want to take it. Let me decide if I want to ride or die with you. Leave nothing for people to throw in case do break us. Um, hmm. Jannard, he said not Ram get me, but I'm not sure what you talking about. Ramel cry. Mario is applauding. Ramel with the ones, yes. Nikita, my girl Nikita. Are you a person that shuts down? Right? Exactly. Are you a person that shuts down, push away your partner, etc.? Like these are the questions these are the answers we need because we don't want a situation where we have a disagreement and I gotta be worried. This woman, I know this woman is a woman that
It's hard
she's
fast.
step out. Yeah, she's hard fast. So don't let me bring up the fact that that
Something bothering
conversation we
me.
had the
Yeah.
other. Yeah. So you want that ease in all the leads. You want the ease of communication, the ease of feeling comfortable and safe. Women want safety and security. Men want that too.
Yeah.
We want to feel safe with a woman. We're
And
not
not only
saying
that
that we
too,
want.
Neil,
Yeah,
from
go ahead.
a
Go
more
ahead.
ego, protecting your ego as well, keeping your ego safe. Now coming back to the same safety you're talking about. I think my guy Chad here mentioned it yesterday. You don't want to know that you taking out what you assume is your queen, and then when you drive around the road, somebody say, "Yeah, well, who's that? He got she. Yeah, he ain't know that this body and that body and this that going down the line." You know what I mean? So that is why a man would ask a question like that. I had a conversation only yesterday with a married woman, and I asked her what was her husband's requirements of her to be his wife, because he could provide. He could provide for her. And I asked her, if you were known to the streets, would he have made you his wife? And she said, point blank, no. Point blank, no. Um, what could she bring to the relationship? And she's not exactly struggling, but she said something like time. She brought, she had the time. She had more time because of what her job is. She had more time to be able to deal with children, prepare a meal. Um, and this is not a case of her being barefoot and pregnant by any stretch of the imagination. This is a professional woman, right? But she is the person preparing meals for the family, fetching and carrying children and stuff like that because he's at work. He's tending to his business. So she's the person who has that role. So it's just a matter of the roles. And she said point blank, she brought different things to the relationship. Money was not one. Her degrees, that wasn't a criteria. Her vehicular time wasn't a concern of his because he didn't need that. As you said, that's safety, that's stability, knowing, yeah, this my girl in Lucerne walking about the place. I safe here. Now, let me before I go any further, because I know there's be some women who will be either watching now or watch down the road who will be concerned about the fact that, oh, there's a double standard, a man can knock boats and do we like and got as many women as he want and he's applauded for it, and women can't do that. I saw one when I made reference to Chad's comment earlier yesterday, and somebody made a response that she has agency over her parts, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But we need to understand that the double standard does exist. The double standard exists. Whether we like it or not, the double standard exists, and we just gotta work with it, right?
I also too hold on, and not to cross you, but it's very important to understand that you and me, we did not come up with this double standard. This
Yeah,
was this happened way before us.
way
This is
before we
because the
came
thing
and
is
found
like
it, we're gonna leave it.
exactly, yeah. I just want to clarify that because I find these sort of things they attack us personally. Like, yeah, one of me, yeah, when it
Yeah.
could go
Someone,
both, right?
I even
I
heard
don't agree
some
with it. Yeah.
comments about us,
Mm,
doing this show, but nobody's perfect. We've put our own history, personal history, on this platform before,
right.
so it is no big thing to me. I don't think you are particularly bothered by it either. Neither of us is. To let everybody know, we are just trying to provide the platform, as we said earlier, for that discussion. So, with that, having said that, the double standard does exist. We know this. We know this. The double standard exists, and that is just how it is. And just so we clear, so that we understand how the double standard impacts women, because this is how men think about it. Women control access to sex. If a woman says no, that's it. No. Women control access to sex. Men control access to relationships and marriage.
Hold on a minute. Hold on, brother. Hold on, brother. Hold on, brother. Hold on, brother. Because I can see that that already is something that would be very divisive for people. Yeah,
It
because
is.
as you were speaking, you said very correctly, women control access to sex. through
Mm-hmm.
very various means, whether passively or actively. Yeah, because women's hormones, time of the month, they control access to sex. My
Yeah.
question to you is, whenever we get around to it, what does a man control in today in a relationship? What is he supposed to control?
The access to the relationship. That is what
But
the man.
some women will not agree with that. Some women will say,
But look,
you
look,
know
look.
what, I could choose if I want to be with a man or not. I don't need a man, or I could choose if I want to be single or not. So
This is
I want you to clarify. I want you to let me dumb it down
okay.
or
Yeah.
or
Let,
or
let
break
me
it
break
down.
it
Yeah,
down like let me break it down like a fraction, right?
yeah. Mm.
A lady can decide she wants to be single, and that's fine. But if she ever comes to the point where she doesn't want to be single, she cannot look at a man and say, "We in a relationship." She can't. Whether she likes that man for years, whether she even sleeping with that man will be the person to decide, you know what? Use my girl. Let me go and get married. Let me whatever. Let me make this official.
The man proposes.
Let
You
me
know that's the thing. The man
and
proposes.
suppose
That is
this.
the
There,
standard.
there have been exceptions to that where we may have proposed. Right?
Agreed.
We get it. But 90% of the time, I would go as far as 95, 98% of the time, a man is the person who says, "Hey, come and take a walk with me," as my aunt would say. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So whether you got children for the man, you sleeping with this man, if that man does not make any conscious decision to say, "Yeah, use my girl and something," nah, you can't force it. You can't browbeat that man. You can say what you like. You could before sex and stuff like that. You can try to manipulate whatever it is you can to get access to that relationship. But guess what? If that man decides, you know, I don't want this relationship, it's not going to happen.
But hold on. We got a lot of comments going off here.
Oh, I
I
figured it would.
specifically want to get to Tonya. Tonya, thanks for joining. She has some very interesting questions because
Go ahead,
let
go
me go
ahead.
first. Nikita wanted to know what access explain, which is, Tanya says, "Hey guys, should any of you seriously consider a woman with a visible reputation? Double standard aside." Tanya, I don't know if what you mean with visible reputation. If you mean like I don't, and I asked you to clarify that because I don't know if you mean if she is in the public eye, if she was, you know,
Known to the streets,
yeah,
as we say.
yeah,
Yeah,
but how known? Because
yeah.
she's saying with a visible reputation. I don't know how that sort of thing, unless you're a public figure or you are, let's be honest, a street worker. I don't know how that would be a visible reputation. So I would need clarification on that. I don't know if Derek you can answer that, but the next question she has though, but Derek, doesn't that go both ways in terms of access to relationship? Like I would assume that's what she means. And before you answer that, I can go to Kwame. Kwame says that access to relationship control ends on marriage though. So choose wisely. Anything after that is typically at the woman initiating divorce, typically having the children, destruction of wealth, etc. So good question.
Oh, oh
Um,
my call me.
yo,
He edited. He edited. He's been
well,
researching.
hold on. What we gonna have to do next time is we gonna have to find a way for you to get the chat on screen because everybody is engaging in dialogue. So yeah, Tanya is gonna give us an example
Yeah.
as we continue. No, I do agree with you in terms of access to relationship, right? Because in pretty much all of my relationships, all of my interaction and engagement, the women look to me to say what we is, what
Yeah.
we doing.
What are
Yeah,
we? What are
yeah,
we?
right? That
What
question does not come
What
from
is this?
what is this? That question generally does not come from men. It comes from women. Why? Because men take
If you
that
got
initiative
access to the sex.
exactly, right? But I want people to understand. I know it's a very touchy and hot button thing because a lot of people now are very independent. A lot of people think that if I want a man, I could get a man. If I don't want a man, I don't have to get a man, or I could get rid of man. I could dump the man. We've had all this, a lot of these things going around where it empowers women. Yeah, but let's be clear. If a woman controls sex and men are not, because remember, a lot of people, a lot of women don't like the term of a man controlling finances or being the main breadwinner. So a man does not control finances. He does not control sex. What does he control in a relationship? He controls the security in terms of the literal protection of the family. To me, that is something that, you know, you call kind of defend your own, if you understand me. And it doesn't speak to the actual tangible, sorry, the intangible chords of the relationship, the fabric and foundation of the relationship. Because at the end of the day, you controlling sex, yeah, which is fine. Whenever you hormones, fibroids, I know women have a myriad of things that will prevent them from having sex. It's not like tonight you ain't getting none. Is I'm not even meaning it like that, right? Men, a man can't come and say, yeah, I can give you $500, gonna spend my money. We can't do that. That's misogynistic. That is archaic in societal norms where we are today. So then I am gonna ask the chat, especially people that may be triggered by that comment of access to relationship is controlled by a man, sex controlled by a woman. What do men control in a relationship? If we don't control the finances, if we don't control sex, if we don't control the emotional, essential, what do I want to say, the essential path of a relationship, the emotional path of a relationship, what do we control in a relationship? All right, so let me go back to Tanya. Well, if the guys say what you said, you gave an example. Okay, I still don't understand, Tanya. I'm not trying to be difficult, but so many things going on. So I don't want to seem dismissive. I legit don't understand. I don't know if Derek can give insight
All
into
right,
it. But
I will take a swing at it. I assume if she means some person who has been out there and their relationship history is kind of like known to the public. Not necessarily that they're a public figure, but they've been around the block so often. Everybody knows, excuse me. The here's the thing about the double standard and the body count and stuff like that. It depends. It's going to vary from person to person, from man to man, because as you get older, men tend to, because what we would tolerate now, we certainly would have tolerated 10 years ago. We would not have accepted 10 years ago. It might more seasoned years. Let's say seasoned.
Just to clarify, Tanya is saying that you're answering the question, so you get it, you understand.
Okay, cool.
All right. Thanks for that, Tanya. Tonya.
I am a big Chris Rock fan, right? And from one of his earlier stand-ups, he said, with regard to the body count, a man is never satisfied with what he hears. She could say two, and the man be like, two. That's how he was raised. Two. So it's never going to be low enough. And he also said, why are you asking? It's not like you're putting down a flag no way, you're discovering nothing. So why ask? So with regard to that, is going to vary from man to man in terms of what that man is willing to deal with, what his, in terms of how broad is his back in terms of dealing with certain comments that he may get, snide remarks that may come or whatever. Some guys might be able to deal with a person who has had 20, 30 persons. Somebody might say, nah, that's too much for me. Anything more than 5, yo. You know what I mean? So that's something that is going to vary from person to person. What I will say with regard to the body count, and I'm going to say this on both sides, the coin, male and female, the challenge with the body count, why it becomes so important, is for something like peer bonding, because the more people you interact with, the harder it becomes.
Oh, so ties. Preach. Get them pasta.
The
Go ahead.
more difficult it becomes for you to kind of settle with one person, and that's just a scientific thing, scientific fact. I'm not big on the science, but that's just what it is, because we've interacted with so many people.
All right, wait, hold on real quick. Renee is here making mention that she thinks Tanya wants to know about us specifically, us two specifically, when we're talking about a woman that Like if she's visibly known, if she's somebody that, and I have been in relationships, Tony, I could say that I've been in relationships with women that their dating history was very public. I have dated people where I have been asked, oh, you know, yeah, that's you
Super
know.
bad, super bad. Yeah. But you know,
Uh, but yeah,
um,
you answer the question. Ask.
ignore this guy. Um, yeah. So on the other hand, have not had that experience where maybe somebody whose history is that well known. I've never been down that road. I've been involved with people casually where their body count was like, "Ooh, okay," you know. But I never had the opportunity to be in a relationship with somebody whose count was something that made me go like, okay. And then I had to kind of, because I get the impression that as you said, people see with the person is like, oh, okay,
Yeah, I've had
and
that.
that sounds like something that you would have to really have nerves of steel to deal with, especially if it's
But
something that comes often.
but you see, the thing is for me, right? So and it's, I actually had this relation. I've had a few relationships with women that they were known, not necessarily that they're known to the streets, but they have had very public relationships and very public, like, arguments and breakups. And, Barbados is a small community, right? So, this body date this body and this body popular. So I've dated those people. Yeah. And I have gotten a lot of questions from as low down as my peers to as high as my mother, like, oh, I know this person through the public sphere, and yeah. But for me personally, I would know because again I used to ask that question, right? Um, and I would hear the response, but to me, and it's so funny because I'm thinking of one particular relationship where the person was a very popular person in Barbados, very well known person in Barbados. And I remember her telling me, I asked the question and she told me, yeah. And I remember saying, okay, it wasn't high, it wasn't like ridiculous or anything. But again, it's subjective. For
Yeah,
me, it wasn't
exactly.
like the woman ain't batting like a half century or quarter century, right? But for me, I took it as okay. You have had these. I did not ask the right question. The question I asked was how many relationships or how many previous sexual partners you've had. She gave me the list, and she gave me the this person, that person, overseas, this place, that place, and I remember not asking the right questions because the way the relationship ended, if I had asked, pointed, and the joke is, after the relationship ended, a lot of people came out the woodwork and say, "Oh, you and this person done." That makes sense because the person is not someone. The person runs from like I don't want to say she's fickle, but for lack of a better term, she's fickle. As soon as the romance wears off, as soon as the honeymoon phase is gone,
Looking for
when you
something
get to
new.
the real challenges, when you get to the real challenges of life, when you get to the real nitty gritty of okay, this is day 348 that we've been together. And it ain't no more, I want to see you naked. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Is what
a
you
little
what you
realer than that.
what is what you chew, you more open. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And you know, in my state of heartbreak, a lot of people were coming forward and saying, we didn't want to tell you anything, but she left a man at the altar. We didn't want to say anything, but she was engaged before. We didn't want to say, and I
yeah.
was like, yo, what you
Unfortunately,
already tell me? Yeah, what
that's
you
how it
inform me?
goes.
And right. But you see, if I had asked the pointed question as these relationships failed, why did they fail? I only asked her really about one relationship that failed. And it was, I think, the most meaningful to her. I asked her why that failed. And she gave me the answer and it made sense based on, who the person was, who's also a very popular person, well known, etc. Right? So Sonia, I don't know if that answers the question. For me personally, I have no problem in dating that person. But as I said, as I've gotten older, and even recently, I have understood that it is very important to ask pointed questions. Not, yes, you can ask that question, but really and truly, as you get to know the person better, and the person has a level of vulnerability and trust in you, then yeah, you have to ask them questions of, yeah, so what you got a child and you got a child father and we're in together. All right, so he horn you. Fine, no problem. So what happened with this other guy? You tell me he was dating for 3 years with this guy. Okay, he did something atrocious. Fine, no problem. But what about, like, as you say, none of it come out the gate. Especially the older we get. And the thing about it is, for me personally, and I was explaining this to somebody, a female friend of mine, last night, the older I have gotten, the less the number
Matters.
matters. Because let's be honest, let's be honest, right? We as spring chickens, we've been out there. Yeah, we've
It's been a while.
we circled the village a couple times.
It's been a while.
And I don't mean that I don't mean that in a village ram type of context. Huh? We have circled the block a couple of times. And as we engage women that would have also circled the block a couple of times too. None we ain't out there dating children, women, yeah, we ain't dating about fresh out of university. Yeah. So the point is that when you ask a woman that's 38, for example, yeah, how many people you sleep with? Yeah. You can't get Betsy. Woman tell you that she over 15. Like you can't be like, oh my god. The woman put it like if she's 38 and she started at, let's say, 18. That's 20 years of history.
Yeah.
Some years she may have had committed relationships, and some years the woman might say, no, I just need to get this itch. I just need to have some fun, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I just want to take in, Tony, I hope, I haven't read the chat, but I hope I've answered your question. And also, I want people to know that I want men to stop hearing numbers. Again, it's subjective, but you hear these numbers and you're like, oh my God, she sleep with 10 people? Oh God. The woman is 30. So
yeah. Give or take. But I'll say to that, Neil.
Go ahead.
Yeah, because I see we on the hour.
No, we go. I already made up in my mind that we can go over 10:30. Don't. Okay. Yeah, okay, I already made up my mind that we. Yeah.
I do have a friend. She said when she was getting ready to be married, she had to tell her husband at the time, husband to be, let's have a come to Jesus a little bit. And they had a discussion because she did not want, because of her background, her history, for people to approach her husband and say anything untoward because of how she had gotten down in her past. You know what I mean? And it was an unsexy conversation to have, but they had it. I don't know how long they lasted in the marriage, but it was definitely a sticking point for that guy. He had already made up his mind that was the woman he wanted to marry or whatever, but then it was just too much for him to have to try to deal with. So that was an unfortunate situation because, again, history, so many partners, peer bonding, it became a bit of a challenge for him. So in the body count, it will vary from person to person. Now, I got a picture today in a chat because this whole podcast thing has taken me into other avenues and other forums, because men may not be commenting, by the way, this is to the ladies who may be viewing right now, shout out to all the viewers. Men may not be commenting on the Facebook pages, but they're definitely messaging me because they've given up on trying to get in a word edgewise on that chat. They've decided to just message me privately. So I kind of facilitate. I hear them out, bring their views. Again, I think I said that at the top of the show. I don't just snatch a topic out to the random blue yonder.
We're looking to just
incite controversy.
People. Yeah.
Right?
That's very important
stuff. This is stuff that men across the world have been addressing or wanting to have addressed. And unfortunately, depending on where you go in terms of your research and you're looking around, it could get a little bit antagonistic because men are becoming more and more frustrated. They figure that they are not being heard, and that is unfortunate. So again, we're not just trying to incite controversy. You here to
So
open up the discussion.
right, sorry. Kwame has a question. Again, if I missed your comments or your questions, forgive me. Y'all have been very amazing tonight in terms of just engagement, and it's been very respectful. So I
Yeah,
got to thank you for that.
for sure.
Tony was saying that men actually commenting a lot in the chat. And again, if I miss any questions or any comments, forgive me. But it's just me and Derek. I doing the production,
Yeah,
so we can try to figure out as we go to make it a bit more conducive
it's
for instant
interaction.
engagement. So right, interaction. Yeah. Kwame has a question. Have you ever answered that question? And if so, honestly,
About the body count?
body count.
Yes, I have answered that question personally a couple times. The older they get and the higher it gets, the more uncomfortable they get sharing it. But I
I
figure it is something that needs to be
discuss.
discussed, especially if the person asks. Um, the last person that asked, I did share it with them, um, because it was that kind of thing. So yeah, and I don't really have a problem. But unfortunately, here's the double standard coming back around again, right?
Mm-hmm.
The higher my number goes as a man, the more stripes, essentially, quote unquote, I have, right? I've heard women saying before, I don't want nobody that I gotta teach nothing. I want a young boy that I gotta teach, So it's a stripe for me is a knock for ladies, right? So bear that in mind.
Yeah. To answer Kwame's question, every time I'll be honest, every time I've answered that question in the past, it has been reflected to me, and I've answered it honestly because to me, I'm not ashamed of my number. I know that the majority of my numbers were in committed situations, and they were in situations where they were either um, committed relationships, monogamous relationships, or working toward that. Yes, I've had some fun, but it isn't like some other guys. And that leads me into the next point that you just added there about the stripes and the double standard in society. I legitimately have had conversations with men that have said some numbers that if I had those numbers, I would be ashamed.
Agreed.
Ashamed. I have one of my friends, he said, I ain't out in the body or whatever, I ain't calling my name or anything. But the man batting at 80. And I legitimately I felt
Oh,
as though and I felt as though, yo, I don't know
but,
what I would do it myself if I
but
came to a realization I did a head count. And the thing is, when you get in them numbers, you can't give a specific number, you know. You
not
get in
only
them numbers, you can't say, well, yeah, 79, you are like somewhere around 80.
I just
Like,
average
my
it.
God.
Yeah, I
You know
kind
what
of
I'm saying? Like,
I average
so
it.
So for
Yeah,
me, so just to finish my point. So for me, I don't think conventionally with the double standard. I think that in my mind I got a number, right? For men and women. It's not, don't let me say I got a number for women and I have a number for men. I have a number full stop as a person, as a human being that obviously it depends on your age, but if you surpass that number, by every increment of 5 you pass that number, something you need therapy, you need to heal for your trauma, you you need an intervention, bruh, or
uh,
sis.
what I was saying to that, like I've heard some numbers before, and I really could not, to borrow the phrase from a friend of mine, I could not fathom how some people would
He is
be,
Barack Kohli.
you
Sorry,
put,
Derek, sorry.
put, put Laura to shame. You know what I mean? I really could not fathom, depending on who is really questioning, how some people get in those numbers. I really couldn't. So I do not know how you get that done. Um,
Bruh,
the
80 though.
yeah, pair bonding through the window. It might just be like that can have fun to another level.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
and
one thing
you
to say
said,
you have fun, but that's
mm,
sharing fun to another level. And I think it might be borderline irresponsible
oh
without
my
calling
God.
out anybody. It might just be it speaks a little bit of sexual irresponsibility when you start to crank up in their numbers.
Romel just said I've heard 80 from a girl before, and she is younger than me, and I am 32. No, he said sorry. He made a mistake with the 80. He said 60. Like that's different. That's better. If you are a man or a woman and you are younger than the age of 32 and you have had sex with 60 people and you are not a professional
Sex
street
worker.
doctor, sex worker, you need therapy, yo. I don't mean to judge, and I ain't talking about women. I'm talking about women, anybody that can hear me and understand what I'm saying. If your number, if you could look at your ledger and see over that, if you could see 60 and you under 32, you need to heal
From
because
something.
you said something very no, you said pair bonding. You keep saying pair bonding, but for those listening, pair bonding is the equivalent of soul ties. That is a term that is very prevalent, especially among women. Pair bonding or soul tie is very important, right? And I have come to this realization very recently that you have to be extremely careful with who you sleep with, right? I have had, as again, I have had fun. I have had committed relationships. I try to carry to the next level. But really and truly, when I think back on it, you say, yeah, the because okay, you have sex with somebody once, sure. Have sex with somebody twice, but if you have sex with someone consistently over months, years, you are each time giving a piece of yourself to that person. Yeah, because let's be honest, if you had a one night stand, sure. You had twice, sure. If you had three, four, 5 times, all right. But if you having sex and you this is your go to, this is your main, this is your whatever you want to call it. Yeah, you are giving a piece of yourself to that person each and every time. Each and every time you all speak, every time you all share vulnerable moments, and you can't get any more vulnerable than being naked and having sexual intercourse. Yeah, you are basically in your basic state, your
Mm-hmm.
original state as a person. So, sex is so to me, you gotta be so like I have, and I can out my business here. I have had my fun. I've had casual sex with people where this ain't nothing, man. It's a hit and quick, you know. But then you start to realize, yo, I get caught up. Yeah, like to be honest, I like there've been several times I've gotten caught out there because I know I have realized within myself I am not a casual or serial dater.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not a person that I meet you, let me have some fun, let me have some fun, let me have some fun, and it's like I may try to keep you at a distance, I may try to keep things along a certain line, but in the end, I am going to get caught out there because it means a lot. Sex, the
Yeah,
act
it's
of
still
sex means
intimate.
a lot. Yeah, it's still intimate. It is intimacy. So when I hearing things like these numbers like 60 and 80 and things for a man or woman, yo, need an intervention for real. You chat going crazy there. I'll be honest. I want to thank everybody for commenting. Let me see, Damien. At 40, you can have 4 per year for 20 years. Whoop, you are 80, and
4 per
they
year.
have been trying for a
That is
year for
4 per
20
year.
years. You're trying to keep up a body average. I don't agree.
Gosh.
I sorry, but so at some point you're not getting into a committed relationship
Clearly not.
because
Clearly not.
you
To get
for
four
20
per
years.
year for 20
Nah,
years, that's a stick and move situation.
nah. You can't be sticking and moving 4 times a year. Like anyhow, Jerome Paris. It's like people make hit lists. People love. People don't love anymore. Oh, okay, yeah, okay. Just think of it like Lewis Hamilton or men collecting rings. Just kidding, man, relax. Oh, facetious. All right. So yeah. So um, we've touched on the funny thing about it is we were talking about relationship requirements. And I hope everybody understands that men too, just like women, need security and stability in a relationship, right? And yes, women primarily want financial security and stability. But if you are a woman that is you are making your bank, you're about your business, you bossing up or, you know, womaning up or whatever, and you're doing your thing, and you're making more money than your partner, then fine. There's nothing wrong with you providing financial stability and security for your man. Yeah. But understand that at some point, no, the man, not at some point, the man wants some sort of security and stability as well. Regardless of if you provide any money or he providing money, both people want emotional stability and security. Yeah, that is to me, emotional stability and security and vulnerability and all that is more important than money, because we could got all the money in the world. If I don't feel like I can trust you as my partner when I have a problem to speak, every time I come to speak here, I say, man, look, babe, as the CEO of my company, we making money, we both rich. I just come home and, you know, the board just chew me out, tell me that I whatever. I feeling real depressed because this problem hitting me hard. You coming to tell me you need to be a man. Why you don't know you about here sulking and thing and depressed? You need to get up, man up, man. There's no.
You see that? Like as I told you, I was invited to another chat yesterday, and that was actually one of the comments made. And this is an all male chat, and one of the guys in that chat made the comment: "Men have feelings too." You know, a lot of times I don't think that we realize that. I actually had to turn on my phone to kind of help you a little bit. Anastasia Delisle is asking if she's the Bajan version of Lori Harvey. Probably what she means, but do you want her? Yeah, I think we dealt with that a little bit. Yeah, so men have feelings too, and people kind of like to think just man up and deal with it, just get over it essentially, and that's not necessarily the best advice. And I don't think in one of the earlier questions they asked a couple of weeks ago, I saw a couple of the women saying in the chat that they were not there to be anybody's cheerleader or a support system or anything like that. You know, men still need that emotional support. Men still need that somebody that, as an ex of mine would tell you, don't like 4 flat tires. Right? You need a man needs to know that if he says, babe, I need you to do X, she will say, babe, you know, I got you.
Got you.
We covered. Ride or die. I don't like 4 flat tires. Right? So the same way women want to have that place where they come home and they can share X or what happened through the day. This woman at work that I really don't like, she was staring at me and I can't figure out why. I went somewhere and these people was looking at my shoes. They had me looking about wondering if my shoes was burst or whatever. The same way you want to talk about that kind of stuff, a man needs to know that, yeah, when they come home, it's safe. We could share.
Safe spaces.
It's safe. And don't just decide, you know what, yeah, get over that there. These dishes gonna wash and you're not gonna wash them. You count the garbage, you're gonna cut your grass. The grass won't cut in. Because we've kind of defined particular roles for our partner. You know, everybody needs that emotional security, that emotional safety, as you said earlier, Neil, to know that their partner don't like 4 flat tires. Everybody needs that.
Yeah. There is a comment here from my boy Greg Ferguson. Greg, thanks for your comment. Let me see if I can find it here. Oh dear, so many comments. Thank you so much for all your comments. We really do appreciate it.
That's a fact.
Greg said, on a serious note, though, the body count thing for me is mostly your attitude towards sex and sexual behavior. It's not really a thing about knowing what kind of relationship you may be considering. For some men, that could be it. I mean, you want to make sure that you don't have a prude, or you want somebody that is maybe the opposite. You may not want somebody that's sexually aggressive. You may want somebody that is a prude. So that could be part of it too. As I said, everybody is different. Everybody has their own preferences for requirements. But I would say that I think that all requirements are valid. You may not agree with them. Therefore, you know, you kind of listen to the requirement, yeah, and you kind of listen to it. And if you're not sure, ask questions. If somebody were to ask me, what's my sexual history? How many people have I slept with? I would have no problem answering. I appreciate your question. I will answer your question, but I just need to know, you know, is this what you want to know, or do you want to know something
Yeah.
specifically,
Yeah.
which speaks towards my attitude within relationships, my commitment to relationships. So I would implore people to say, don't be offended by the initial question. Ask questions to understand. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it is very important to have what you need to feel safe and secure in a relationship, whether you're a man or a woman, whether it's money, whether it's sex, whether it is whatever. The point is, whatever you need, you are asking the person for, and you want that from the person. Yeah. So
Yeah.
let me see here. Um, Damien was saying something, right? But I know Damien. Oh, Natalia, he was not talking about yesterday when somebody was talking about not supporting them in a relationship. This was a previous post a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Um, Between 18 and 25, numbers were spiraling. Then was in a relationship for 5 years. After that, on becoming single, women were happy that singleness occurred and there was a rebound phase. You would be surprised how those 4 months went. Damien, I ain't care what you tell me, right? 80, you're 40 and got 80 and you've been having sex for 20 years, bruh. At some point, you would have had to have a relationship, and at some point, I would hope you would have been monogamous. 80 is ridiculous. I ain't care if it's a man, a woman, a dog, cat. 80 is enough. 80 is a lot, right?
Yeah.
If I
I
were
cannot.
talking to a woman, I can't imagine talking to a woman tell me she had 80 partners. I feel like again troll. I'd be
Well,
like,
you get pumped again,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
B.
this is the question I like to throw, right? Because I know people don't really get it. So I think I had spoken to somebody privately yesterday, and I asked them this exact question, right? Well, because somebody actually messaged me and said, "Why didn't I equate a man's financial stability with a woman's financial stability?" And I think I would have covered that earlier. I don't think men necessarily want a woman's financial stability. You got a job, it's cool, but to quote my guy Chad, I think I saw Chad in the chat earlier.
Yeah,
Um,
tell him.
a girl, if she look good enough, a man would take she up from nowhere with no job. You know what I mean? So we don't look at that. It's about the physical, is the visual, the same, right? But to go back to my original question, because when people hear a word like body count, it tends to be a little inflammatory, it tends to be a little incendiary. Um, People get triggered when they hear words like body count. So I'll put it this way: you and your partner get together. You say you're getting married or whatever. You have a son. You have a son. 9 months ladies, you carry this child. He comes out healthy, everything. You and hubby invest all your love, care, attention, money, effort, everything. You raise your son. He goes through school. He does well in school. Comes out through secondary and tertiary education. Does very well for himself. Goes on, and he's doing well for himself. Whether he's an entrepreneur, doctor, lawyer, bank manager, as Matt said in the song a couple of years ago, right? He's doing well for himself. So he comes home to you at 26, 27 years old, and he says to you, "Mommy, Daddy, there's my girl here." And I, she real sweet to me, and I feel like I want to get married to this girl. You as a parent, then you cool with it at this point, but you as a parent, you gotta do your due diligence, and you gonna do some background checking or whatever that, because Sonny he caught up to borrow MTR, mediocre tutorials and reviews. Shout out MTR, to borrow one of his words of the viscosity. Got he caught up, right? He caught up with the thickness. You know what I mean? So he is not concerned with body count history, and those things. You as a parent, you do your due diligence. You go, you do a little research, and you ask around stuff like that, and then most of the reports you hear, yeah, man, she known to the streets, man. She's a good girl and thing, but she's bad, man. She's super bad. You know what I
Don't
mean?
do that. Don't do that. Stop it. Stop
So
it.
you hear that, you as a parent, and they asked my married friend yesterday the same question: would she be happy if her son brought home somebody who was essentially known to the streets, who had a body count that was, let me say, it says 80 is the number, let's throw 80 out there. Your son brings home somebody with a body count at 80. What would be your response as a parent? And that's the question I want to throw out to the chat. Just leave it there for a couple seconds. See if you get any responses to that. But I want them to really consider that. So as much as we want to say that, yeah, people got agency over the parts, and because that was one of your comments I saw yesterday, a man being concerned with a body count is shallow and superficial. I saw all that, I hear all that talk, I get it, and on some level, I guess I do agree with you. People should be free to do what they want, but we need to be mindful of the fact that the body count, sorry, not the body count, the double standard exists. The double standard exists. Women want men because if it weren't unconcerned with it, a job would not be part of the criteria for a man to be in a relationship with a woman. Women are concerned with security. On some level, we have to admit that. And by the same token, men want, you don't gotta be pure as a driven snow, because again, I don't think they got any 20-year-olds in the chat right now, except for probably Mark. But we understand that the higher you go in terms of your age, the higher your body count is going to go up. We get it. But when you start talking, again, you can use 80 as the number. When we start talking about 80 people, there's some kind of, you know, irresponsibility, some kind of disconnect going on that you really need to look at and address.
Damien says a very good point here. The only man that doesn't want a financially stable woman is a man who wants to control a woman or a man who wants to be abused. No normal man, even if they won't admit it, looks for a woman who can add value to their partnership financially. I completely agree, Damien. I don't know if you have something to add to that, because I
Yeah,
don't want to. I don't want to be somebody's sugar daddy. I don't want to take care of somebody. I want a partner. So
yeah, that's a fact. My guy Shannon Sharp, the guys in chat would know I'm a Shannon Sharp fan, even though he's a LeBron lover and I'm not. Shannon Sharp, he was quoted saying he's looking for a partner, not a sponsor, or not for somebody to
exactly
sponsor. You know,
right.
my mother told me many moons ago, I don't think it was even 28, my mother said to me, Dad, you're going to make sure you got 5 cents, somebody that got 5 cents to put with your 5 cents. You
Yeah,
know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? So you should always be looking for somebody that can bring something to the proverbial table, because you know that's the thing right now. Everybody talking about what do you bring to the table. You should always be looking. And somebody, so a guy sent me a picture they wanted us to use tonight for wanted to
Oh
talk about
hell
bringing
no,
something to the table.
hell
But
no.
in the interest of being respectful, we can't
Yeah,
we
yeah,
gotta
nah,
use that.
no,
Um,
no.
but yeah, we don't we you want somebody that can contribute to what it is that's going on, you know what I mean, and not somebody that you have to sponsor, take care of, um, or even give handouts to. That does not bode well for any kind of healthy kind of relationship.
Mhm. My man Jannar said, I been really you and I could take my licks, but if my son bring home a bad one, he got to carry she back where he find she. Um, Self-explanatory. Greg replying to Damien, I think y'all using extremes. He didn't say men want women with no jobs. That's a different conversation. On some level, this Damien Noah here again. No woman looking for a relationship with a man that can't provide some form of stability. Not one. Kevin goes, not all true though, Damien, but point is a fact. Point is a fact. Some men leave it out because it comes down to a competition or a belittling battle. The conversation going. What did I tell you last week and this week, Derek? One hand can't clap. That's
That's
Natalia.
Natalia.
That's Natalia. Yeah. Tanya was saying, I real sorry if I, we gotta figure out this. I really didn't anticipate this overwhelming response in the comments. I know that people were gonna tune in, but I am really grateful that you guys, lending your voice and everything like that. But my man Derek, 10:30.
Yes,
We have
10:30.
survived.
I
I hope people understand our perspective. I hope everybody understands where we are coming from. We are not trying to equate a woman's sexual value to providing, for us men, providing financial stability. Yes, on the surface, the question
It
of
looks that
body
way.
count, the question is very sensitive, especially as we just spoke about. The older you get, the higher the number can be. Let's be honest, if it gets to a point where you feel personally ashamed of it and you are past that number, then you may not be willing to share that. Yeah, so it really comes down to stability and security in a relationship. Some people, need to ask the pointed question of, you always single though. You come to me, you had enough relationships, you single, what's the deal? Yeah.
Yeah.
Some men want to know that you can handle yourself in the bedroom, or some men want to know that they need a challenge. I don't know, right? But for me personally, again, as we were saying, it depends on the individual man. For me personally, I want to know why. All right, I could tell you, like I could tell you why I'm single. I could tell you where I have made my mistakes. I could tell you my trauma. I could tell you what I need to heal from. I could tell you what I am poor at in a relationship. I need you to do the same with me if we want this to continue and be committed. So, anyhow, Derek, this has been a banger, as they say in the music industry. I want to thank everybody for joining us, engaging us. Tune into the syndicate and their music. It's amazing. And yeah, join us next week. Again, when my man Derek posts his comments and his posts, the man ain't coming to tell one to get in the kitchen and cook with me. The man ain't telling one to be barefoot and pregnant. There is a reason why we're asking, because we want civil discourse to get to the bottom of the disconnect between men and women in relationships. There anything you want to go in closing?
Yeah, I just hope that the two sides, men and women, can kind of find a way to meet in the middle a little bit based on the discourse and the exchanges that we had here tonight. So I'm hoping that we achieved something along that line tonight. I really am. People, again, focus on being the best version of yourself, and you can't go wrong with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think every episode we should end on be the best version of yourself. If you do that, then everything else will fall into place. So,
facts.
Thanks everybody for joining us.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It has been incredible. So, until next time.
Friends.
Share with your friends. Like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Yeah. We can be back at it again.
I got this feeling.